What's going on, guys? The American Gentleman here, and we have some new evidence of information that we want to cover here today. There has been released disturbing voice notes from Andrew Tate himself, and it seemingly looks like he's admitting to a lot of the stuff that he's accused of. I have my own thoughts on it, and I'm going to tell you about it right after this video, but first we're going to take a look at what he said.
Am I a bad person? Because the more you didn't like it, the more I enjoyed it. I fucking loved how much you hated it. Turn me on. Why am I like that? Why? I am one of the most dangerous men on this planet. Sometimes you forget exactly how lucky you were to get fucked by me. Would you rather me pin you down and make you do things you didn't like, or would you rather fuck you didn't like that I was thinking I can do whatever I want to you? That's what it is. I'm the smartest person on this fucking planet. Are you seriously so offended I strangled you a little bit? You didn't fucking pass out. Chill the fuck out. Jesus Christ. I thought you were cool. What's wrong with you?
So that was the audio clips. What do you think? Sounds kind of disturbing. I would probably go back and listen to it a couple more times. So it's interesting, the format that it's in. It's like a text message, but a voice message. So he's texting back and forth, but they're doing it through voice. We don't have the other half of the conversation of what the lady was saying back. We don't know. But being the nature that they're notes, these are a whole bunch of little micro messages that are pieced together. Are there any messages missing in between? Is there a lot of context loss? I'm sure of it. There is probably something like when he says, "Why am I like this?" And the previous thing he said before that, those two sentences might not have nothing to do with each other. There might be a few different messages in between. And also you can hear the change in background noise in between the different ones. So it's not a fluid thing. It's basically the equivalent of what his fans have been doing to him, but now the legal system's doing it. Not only are people taking 2-3 hour long speeches and condensing them down to 10 to 30 seconds, but I guess they're doing that with the evidence too. But they're not going to show you the long form video, not as of right now. They're just going to show you these little clips of things that sound awfully bad with no context behind them. So I don't have a clue. I think there's something very, very suspicious about this. Do I think Andrew Tate is perfect? Do I think he's a saint? No, I do not. At best, it's looking like he probably committed some form of tax fraud some way or another by his own admission. This is stuff that he said, but no one really wants to pay taxes, so people don't tend to get too upset about that. Usually the government does. And if you look at rich companies and rich organizations that's been doing it for a long time, none of them pay taxes. None of them do. They got all these things to get around and do whatever. Some people know all the complicated ins and outs. Some people don't. So some people do the exact same thing, but do it legally. And they do it every single year. But as far as the allegations, I find it odd that the journalist Andrew Callahan, he has more women reporting sexual assault from him in his 1 year on YouTube than Andrew Tate does from his whole 15-year career. So if he does have this sort of stuff in his heart and he is doing it, we should see even more victims, because they normally just don't do it to one person and stop. It's usually a systematic lapse in judgment that is continual, like Logan Paul. And why is it the dredges of society are the ones that hate Andrew Tate, that can't stand him? The ones with weird hair, they look real soft and pudgy. A lot of them's extremely overweight, or they can't tell you what gender they are. They don't have a clue. They're a man one day and a female the next. And overall, just very, very unattractive people. And usually these people aren't just unattractive on the outside, it's also on the inside. The outside is a reflection to how much care and preparation that they're putting into things. They're putting no care, no preparation, and no discipline to the outside of their body. You think anything else in their life is going to be any other way? No, everything is a sign of other things, in my opinion. Sometimes you can look at one thing and it will tell you all you need to know. For example, why do women always look at shoes? Shoes! I want to see what shoes you got on. I seen this kid in the store the other day. It looked like he worked real hard. He got the ugliest shoes on his day, about worn out. I imagine them things stink to high heaven. You don't want to cuddle up with that at night. You want a man with some nice shoes that takes care of himself. A lot of people neglect the feet. And if you're neglecting the feet, what else you neglecting? Now let's talk about the cam girl model. Am I the happiest with this format to make money? No, not really. There's two ways to look at it, and a lot of times two things can be true at the same time. Okay, you can look at it as a form of the pimp game, which I feel like Andrew in his mind he kind of does, and he learned the ism. He learned the pimp game, but at the same time, it ain't on the same level as prostitution. Like, he kept these girls safe, and they weren't out being railed by every man that they can find, or going to making content with other men and just swapping around all the time. No, he had all these cam girls, and if they're going to have sex, they're going to have sex with him. And then there's no diseases and stuff like that being spread. So I can understand that. The less elements and the less people you got a part of something, the more easier it is to control. And this type of business, you don't want to lose control over it. And yeah, he's right. After you set the girl up with all the knowledge, she could leave you at that time. She doesn't need you anymore, but she stays there. And should she stay there? Well, I mean, it's good to be loyal. Somebody set you up, they showed you a hustle. It's going to be easier to stay there and play your role. If you want to run off on them with your newly found knowledge, if you think you can do it yourself, if you can pull it off, that's fine too. I don't see a problem with it. It's all about what you want from your life. And most of these girls, they had to just sit there on camera and look pretty, maybe show some boobies, but they weren't actively being ran through by men on a daily basis. They were at home by themselves with the other girls with nothing bad happening to them. As far as the people on the other end, the people that were getting their money taken from them, he said they would be sitting there talking to the girls, or at least they thought they were talking to the girls, but they were talking to a stone cold G trying to take their money. Saying, oh yeah, look at these titties, baby. They all yours. Come get them. Hey, I need $200. I need you to buy me something. And they knew what men want, and they got into psychology of men, and they took these people's money. Was that right? Is that a good business model? No, it's not. It's not the best thing to do in the world. But you'll have a hard time finding people that are sympathetic to these men that are going to give. I think in one instance, he said one person gave $1 million to a girl he never met before when he's married. Right? Someone doing something like that, you don't really have respect for them, and you don't really care if somebody rips them off. It's just the way it is. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind when you're going about your daily business. This is why I always say, don't forget to be good on your way to becoming great. Because the moment you stop being good, then people look at you like you a mark. If you got something and you ain't good no more, then they would rather rob you or hurt you than rob and hurt somebody that they know is doing good. If they don't think you're doing good, then they can justify it in their mind. Why do you think people rob drug dealers? Well, one, they can't go to the police because it's drugs. And number two, they already think you're doing something wrong. If you're selling drugs, you're doing something wrong, and therefore they don't feel bad about robbing you. And then you can't go to the police on top of that. That's a double success. So don't put yourself in sketchy places. Don't be doing shit you're not supposed to do, because when you do, there's already an industry of people, because you may think you're just going out living your life. You just want to go do whatever this one thing is. But you got to remember, you ain't the first person to do it. You ain't the first person to have these thoughts, and you're not the first person to be in this situation. So since you're not, people has already seen how people in a certain situation are going to react. And so they already know what to do to you to get you in a position. There's people out there to prey on your weaknesses. And many people have been hurt, robbed, or unalived while they were doing something that they weren't supposed to do, being somewhere where they weren't supposed to be, and things ended badly for them. So what's the best way to avoid it? The answer is not to get you a bodyguard. The answer is not to get you an armored car. The answer is to quit going to these places and quit doing the stupid shit you're not supposed to be doing, right? They basically robbed these people. And it was fraudulent because they thought they were talking to the woman, but they weren't. They were giving their money to grown men, talking to grown men, telling them what they want to hear. So yeah, Tate is definitely not blameless, but he also did a lot of this stuff back when he didn't believe in God, and he does believe in God now. He is a Muslim. I thought it was very interesting. That Tristan Tate went on to his Twitter and said that Andrew has received thousands of mail from Muslims, but he's yet to receive one piece of mail from a Christian. because he's still a Christian. Andrew's a Muslim, but he's a Christian. And I find that an interesting dynamic. But one positive thing I have seen come out of this is a lot of people on the East and the West are now getting together and are more bonded over this general topic. Because a lot of times the people in the West and the people in the Middle East, they don't understand each other very well. But when you see the people from the Middle East following Tate and you see the people from the Western world following Tate, then you see that their values are aligning, and their values are this. They want to go back to the common masculinity. So I have another video I'm about to put out. After I do, I'll link it to the end of the video. But there's another element to this that is political. Could politics be involved in this, and is there evidence of it? If you're interested, I'll have that video out very soon. But as always, if you don't remember anything from this entire video, remember this one thing. Don't forget to be good on your way to becoming great. God bless. Have a great day.